Can you give us a brief summary?
Okay, introduce myself. Okay, so I'm Ganesh. Ganesh Pedireddy is my full name, and I work for Big Four. I'm a data consultant, and I manage big operations. And I live in Sanford, and my wife's name is Rekha, and my kids are in India. So that's my background.
Okay, so what are some cool and interesting projects you've accomplished throughout your job?
Interesting project. Okay, so now I'm part of Google. Okay, so boys, you have. So yeah, most interesting project now is I'm part of Google team now, so I support Google Finance. So what we have done is we support the entire finance operations in Google. So that means it's a huge one of the biggest company in this uh, uh, in this decade, and we support a lot of activities there. So that makes me more interesting. So when we say Google Finance, right, how much money transfer from A company to B company, all the countries are connected. So wherever in all the countries where Google is being used, they have to pay money to Google. And how do we centralize that money and it goes to Google's account is what makes me interesting.
Okay,
Did you
so
get it? What I was trying to tell?
yeah. So how do you see all your skills transferring into the field of robotics, both hardware and software?
Okay, so we do this all the time in our life, right? So our lot of our work get moved to robot, and we as a human being smart, we try to find new job for us. So what we generally do is any pattern of work, if we are doing it regularly, right? Say even it could be any activity which we do same activity with no change. Then what we do in Google is, or what we do in our company is, we try to find the pattern and we feed the data to robots and tell them to do it, and humans will have to do a smarter job than robot. That makes sense.
Yeah. So another question that I had, since in robotics we have to communicate to maybe get some code or some CAD from other teams, how does communication play a very important role um, on a day-to-day basis?
Communication with robot or communication with
Just
humans?
like throughout your team or
Like
Oh,
Google.
my team.
start your
Okay.
job, yeah.
Okay. So we call it a CCC. So that is the mantra for us to survive in our projects. So CCC means communicate, communicate, communicate. So what it means is what you communicate has to be understood for the person who's listening. So when I tell something, Yuga and Partha should understand. So mantra is CCC. So we keep doing that with the team, and we make sure that everybody understands what we speak, and what they speak we understand.
Okay.
Okay, so to be successful in robotics, we have like a lot of planning that we need to do, like for like to lay out plans for months in advance. So could you describe how you use planning in your job, maybe like some tools or some strategies?
Okay, so planning is the important activity, right? Any project you do, right? So 40% of your activity plays on planning. So any project you do, it could be a robotic project or it could be I do a data activity, so I'm a data consultant. So in my job, so what we have to use and how we have to use is and why we have to use all these things comes into picture. So we plan and we invite people to the planning meeting, and we take all the inputs and take the steps one by one, and then whichever is applicable for our project, based on the, we call it SME, that is called subject matter expert. So we take the inputs from the subject matter expert, and then we'll plan and we'll put a schedule, and then we'll go from there.
Okay. Yeah. So in plans even, so sometimes you have like sudden changes and stuff. So in robotics, we always like strive to be adaptable to sudden changes and problems. So like, how have you made your like have you do you have to be easily adaptable in your job to like changes? And for your product, is it like made to be easily changeable or like easily fixable?
It depends, right? So it depends if the change or where the issue comes, right? Say, for instance, if I speak in your language, right? You are building a robot, and you are almost there. So if you have an issue in your final stage of building, then it takes time. So adaptability is difficult. But if you find the issue during your design phase when you're building it, right, it is much easier to flip the coin. So the planning helps you there, and recommended to test in every level. So once you do first part or the first phase, then my recommendation is for you to have a successful project, you have to test in every level, so that if so the adaptability is easier, and if there is any change, it goes forward.
Yeah. So also in robotics teams with like the planning and everything to actually accomplish something efficiently, we need people with like different skill sets to work together in a team. So talk about maybe how what you do corresponds with what other people do and how you guys work together with different how different people with different areas of expertise work together.
Can you repeat your question again?
Yeah, so like in robotics, to be successful, we have a lot of people with different skill sets or different areas of expertise working together. So could you maybe explain how you work with people of different skill sets in your job to be successful?
Sure, yeah. So, say for instance, right, I'll give you another example. So, I'm giving you another example of the same finance project. Say you in YouTube, right? So there are certain what happens in YouTube. So the YouTube ad plays, and there is a video plays after this, right? This is what it happens. So when this happens, the person who's getting whose his ad is getting played, he will have to pay money to Google, correct?
Hmm.
And Google will have to pay money to the person who's putting the video. It's a chain, correct? So there will be multiple teams involved. The banks are involved, the purchasing team is involved, the subscribing team is involved. So there is a invoicing shows up, right? What you as a supplier, you take money, you have to you take money from your supplier and give it to your customer, right? So we involve or work with multiple vendors and customers. So it needs a lot of coordination. For this, the main thing is we establish process. So once you establish process, and these are two key things again. In any project you do, you establish your process, you establish your checklist. Do you know what a checklist is?
Yeah, we use checklists a lot in robotics.
Yeah. So when you have your process and checklist in your hand, you don't make mistakes. Even if you make mistakes, you can correct your process for the next project.
Hmm. So yeah, that just sounds like just having like an intricate plan, making sure you know what you're gonna do next and stuff.
Correct. If you make something and mistakes in this project, if you say you guys work on it and you make us here and there adaptability and some issues comes up, you mark it down, you update your process so that you don't make the same mistake in your next project. So your product is better in the next circle or next uh, in the next line.
Okay. So another thing in like robotics, it's always encouraged to like it's a big field, especially with us, like with high school kids. So there's a lot of times where like you'll do something where you have a task that you really don't know the steps to do. So have you ever like been faced with a task that you haven't known exactly what to do at first, but you've been able to like learn through that like some new skills out of that?
Okay, so this is very normal in life, right? So we get into something which we don't know. We get into something which we don't know, right? So what we do? So we reach out to the people, or we reach out to the knowledge, right? When I say reach out to knowledge, you go to a forum where Google or ChatGPT or anywhere you go and search for the information. First you understand this is what I recommend for anybody. It could be any project you do. You have to understand the problem first.
Mm-hmm.
Understanding the problem or understanding the task is the important thing. Once you know what to do, then you will come to know how to take help on that, who can do it. So okay, I wanted to build a piece of code in a robot. So what I know now, I know to reach out to you or reach out to Prartha for that. So I know you guys are an expert, and I reach out to you. So if you have any questions with the data, right? Okay, whom you can look at it. Oh, Ganesh told that he knows something about data and he's a data consultant. So we can go to him. So that is how you understand the problem first, understand the task clearly, whoever who gave you, and then you start working on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So another thing is oftentimes we face like major setbacks when we're working. So like for example, our robot, like a big part of it broke a week before our final competition, and we had to like take steps to like overcome that. So could you describe maybe if you've ever had like a major setback in your work that and how you overcome that?
Um, so yes, right. So what we do is that okay. So I'll put an example, right? So we went for a competition, maybe 2 weeks back. So we have to submit our ideas. When we submit our ideas, uh, we have to go there. We have to present there. And after going there, we figured out that there are some teams did better than us. So we stood number 5, and the top 3 only got the winners, right? So our team stood 5. So we went there. We understood that what we did not do, so that on the next year when we go there, so we understand what all the needs are and what is the judge looking for, and we can do a better model next time with better idea.
Okay, sounds good. And then I wanted a clarification. So you said you work like data consultant. So do you manage like finances and stuff? Is that like
Yes, finance data is what I manage. Yes.
okay? So would you like if you wanted to get more technical, would you maybe want to talk about any tools that you use to like manage your data, stuff like that? Because
Okay.
sometimes, yeah.
So tools, what I use is the software which we use is I'm an SAP consultant, so it is part of ERP, Enterprise Resource Planning. So what this means is, as part of Enterprise Resource Planning, finance is a module what we support. So in ERP, there are a lot of modules there. It could be sales is one module, purchase is one module, finance is one module, supply chain is a module. There are a lot of areas. HR is a module. So these are all verticals under ERP. So in that, the software which or a tool which support for us is SAP.
Okay, that sounds good. Yeah. So maybe you would want to because I think in robotics we like a big part of it is that we need a lot of funding to like be able to get the parts we need and get the resources we need. So a lot of it is managing all the finances that we have and like sorting everything out. So would you have any recommendations for how teams should go about sorting out their finances to be the most organized as possible?
So, okay, funding plays a different role, right? So for you to have your funding for your project, is that correct?
Well, like I think more about like how to like once you have the funding, there's also of course there's fundraising, but once you have the funding, how do you recommend teams should go about organizing it? Any tools they should use to organize all their expenses and funding, like store the how much money they're spending, how much money they're getting, so they make sure they're always on top of their finances.
So I'll step back here. My recommendation would be it's all part of your planning.
Mm-hmm.
So when you do your planning, you have to say you have $100, for example, right? So in $100 during the planning, you will decide. So how much money I'm going to spend for this?
Mm-hmm.
So you keep your budget only till $80. You keep your $20 for your buffer. So as part of that, you allocate your 20 for all your four activities and keep 24 separate. In case if something is not working and you have to go and you planned accordingly and you did not go as planned, then you have to have buy anything else. Then you should have your buffer in your hand to go and do it.
I think that's a very good piece of advice, like having a buffer when you're using finances. So I think that's all for me. Do you have any other questions?
No.
Okay, so yeah, I think that's it for the interview. Thank you for coming on to talk to us. I think we both learned a lot from our team, more and a lot from this.
Sure. I'm glad to talk to you guys. I want to see you guys as an expert in robotics soon. And if possible, once you complete your demo or something, please share the video. So we would like to see it. Me and Rekha would like to see that.
Sure, we would love to have you like look at our robotic stuff. So yeah. So is there anything? No, you're good.
Okay, yeah. I think that's all for this interview.
Thank
Thank
you. Thank you, Pardat. Nice talking to you.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Happy Saturday. Bye.